Hello and welcome. I should say welcome back to Deliver More, presented by Intech Services. I say welcome back for a couple of reasons, folks. One is I'm excited to be joined once again by the two distinguished guests I have before me. So please say hello to the number one draft pick, blue chip from the year 1995, Mike Patterson. Good morning, bud.
Hey, Nick. How are you? Hi, Francesca.
Morning.
And once again, Francesca joins us as well, the Director of Marketing here at Intech Services. And guys, I wanted to address this right off the bat. Last time we ended with a bit of a cliffhanger. You guys took us through the basics of marketing for coders, and we set up what we're getting into today. But before we go there, I wanted to take a moment and address some of the incredible feedback that we're getting from the listeners of this program. And I'm so grateful for every email, every social media comment, every text, every message we receive by carrier pigeon, by skywriting. We're overwhelmed, guys. And in all sincerity, thank you for listening, for following us on social. We so appreciate it. You know, when we started this thing, it was with a committed effort to take this time to connect and communicate better in a trying time, to deliver more, if you will. And hearing from you guys, it lets us know we're on the right path. So
thank you.
Thanks
yes,
so much.
It means a lot.
Yeah, it really touched. And, you know, we got some excellent questions, Mike and Francesca, which I think we can address today on this program. So last time we talked about the basics of marketing, and what you two teased at the end of the last episode was that we were going to talk about some common marketing tools at use in the coding world. So for our listeners, we broke it down into, I guess, what you would call the big five. Am I right there? The big five tools of the marketing world. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring them up and we're going to rank them. All right. We're going to rank them on a 1 to 5 scale. And the notes I have said the one, if you're a 1, you're a dog. Now, I think that's a little mean to dogs. That's a little pejorative, but we can do that. And 5, absolute must-have, a stud, if you will, there. All right? So 1 to 5, everybody. Does that sound good to you?
Let's do it.
Sounds
Let's play
great.
along. All right. Francesca, as a marketing tool, what would you rate a website?
A website is an easy 5. It's a 5 out of 5. It's an absolute must-have for anybody in business, pretty much in anything. But when we're talking about coders in particular, you definitely need to have your website. And having a website doesn't make it a 5 out of 5 website. So there's a big difference between having a website and having a 5 out of 5 website. So as a tool, you need one. It's great for capturing contact information. It's great for lead generation. It's great for, incoming business. And it's great to market who you are, what you do, your expertise, how you're a specialist now, because you're a specialist and not a generalist anymore.
We remember.
There's a ton of stuff that you can do with a website that it's your business card that's just out there all the time, 24/7. So it's got to look, feel, sound right. It's got to make sure you lead the person that's coming in to do the things that you want them to do. But there is no doubt that if you are a coder, you need a website.
Yep. So we're going back to radio days. I gave Francesca the old smash or trash option. Mike, she says smash when done right. What say you?
I agree 100%. I mean, it's a form of legitimacy, number one. So if you don't have a website, you're not going to get much
Who
new
are
business.
you?
Yeah,
that's
so
well said.
It's a must have. But I agree with Francesca in terms of just because you have it doesn't make it a 5. It absolutely can be a 5, but I've seen them where it's a 3. And I think there's a couple common things that would urge people to consider when they're having a website, because if a website's not relevant or it's not current, then it's basically a billboard in the woods that nobody sees and nobody will hear or nobody will feel. So I really think that there's a lot of inherent value in doing things to keep that website updated, whether it's having new content, fresh content, up-to-date pictures, something so that when people arrive at your site, they see that it wasn't put up 5 years ago and hasn't been touched since. I think there's some real value there. I mean, imagine you're going to go out to eat tonight and you go to the restaurant's website and you see their menu is from 98 or 2019 or whatever it's going to be. I mean, it doesn't impress
Pepsi
you.
Clear.
Yeah. It doesn't impress you. So, I mean, the same goes with the coder stuff. And some of them I've seen some websites that do a great job of keeping things up to date with either a success story or something like that. And I would urge people to think about ways to do that where it's not a huge workload, but it shows the viewers and your visitors that you care. And I think the other part of it too, and we really try to do this a lot with our website and with all our communications, is let it show your personality. Let your website be kind of the first glimpse for your visitors to who you are and what you're all about as a company. And I think where we are with this, our philosophy behind a lot of this is that people like to do business with people, not just the faceless entity at the other end of the invoice.
Sure.
So let your website shine through and show your visitors and your customers and your prospects who you really are.
I agree completely, Mike. And I think in addition to that, all of your marketing should be pushing people back to your website.
Yep.
So you want that to be an impressive first impression, like you said, relevant, updated, and it is a reflection of you and your business and how your website looks and the feel that they give. It needs to instill confidence that you are up to date on everything else, your technology, your processes, your systems, your operations, all of that, just by having a nice looking website. So I couldn't agree more. It's a necessary place to put your marketing dollars for sure.
All right. So on this 2 for Tuesday, we have a smash, not trash, a 5 for the website. Mike, let's continue down the road, if you will. I'll give you one. Rate this one for me. Is it a dog or a stud must-have? SEO. I'm talking search engine optimization.
Okay. SEO. So this is going to be the organic work that you can do to help your website pop in Google or Bing or whatever search engine you're trying to optimize for. This to me is another one where I feel like SEO is probably a 5 because it's free. I mean, it's free in terms of what you have to pay. It's not free in terms of the work you have to do. There's a lot of work that goes into SEO to do it the right way. And I think I'd break it down in 3 steps. Like, you have to understand what the current, and I'm going to emphasize current, algorithms are for the search engines, because
yes,
when you think you know it, they change it. So, understand those current algorithms, do a keyword exercise, which any SEO company can walk you through. It's a lot of work, but at the end of it, you're going to come out with a concise list of, nowadays it's long tail phrases that are stringed together, your keywords. And then you litter your website with content and articles and anything you can to use those content, rich keywords. So, it's a lot of work. I mean, I'm not going to lie about this one. We've done this a lot for our own sites. We've done it for some clients. It's a lot of work, but at the end of it, what you have is pretty powerful, and it will last a couple of years before they really switch the algorithms up. You should be able to get a lot of use out of this. So I think if you're willing to do the work and do the exercises and then create content utilizing those phrases, it can be very beneficial, but it's a long haul investment. Like, you don't see immediate feedback on this one. This is one you'll see feedback in, what do you think, Francesca? 3 months, 6 months?
Longer.
Yeah. I mean, it's get ready for the burn on this one. So don't look for, don't do your keyword exercise, and the next day you go and wonder why you're not on page 1. But to me, I think it's well worth the time and investment in time to go ahead and do it.
I like the honesty there when putting caveats on it. Well, it's probably a 5, granted these things. Francesca, what do you say?
Yeah, I think that's why my knee jerk is to rank it as a 4. But with the caveats, if they're there, then it's a 5, because you do need it. It's really kind of a major missed opportunity if you don't identify your keywords, because then you're probably not very clear on what you want people to be searching to find you. So that's a whole other exercise. You need to have those keywords because it's part of your identity and part of your brand and part of,
It's part of being a specialist.
inbound leads. Yeah, exactly. I do think you need to also, that staying up to date, revising your content, making sure things are in the right places, not just knowing that it's long tail, key phrases, but that content in the header ranks higher than content in the body. And things like that are important for SEO to actually work. So when SEO works, it's a 5 out of 5, no doubt. And I think you do need to have it. It's just about putting in the effort, knowing what you're doing, and making sure that you are understanding how people are finding you and helping them find you, because that's what SEO does for free, as in dollars, but it certainly costs a lot in terms of time and energy.
I like the description, because if you don't understand what people are searching for and how they might find you, then it can be a big
then you're just
hole.
picking words you like, I guess. Yeah. I don't know what you're doing then. So yeah, I think I'll give it a 4.5 out of 5. How about that?
Are we going to allow that? Yeah. They
I thought it was
good.
whole numbers only here. This is nonsense.
I'm sorry. No, we're much more nuanced in that.
All right. That's all for today. We'll see. All right, Francesca, since you created a problem here with the damn half number rankings, put you on the spot. You talk to us about SEM. Talk to us about search engine marketing.
SEM, I would definitely rank as probably a 3 out of 5. It sits happily there in the middle. You don't really need it, because when we're talking about SEM, we're talking about paying for those Google ads, for it's the clicking, it's anything you have to pay. So it really depends on your budget. It really depends on the industry you're competing in, on your competition, on how much they're spending. So you could spend a whole bunch for a Google ad and blow your budget out of the water, and it could be great, except then your competitor can go on and find your ad and click on it a bunch of times and waste your money. So
they can also see what your keywords are too. I mean,
absolutely. There's a lot of ways that with SEM to undo the work that you do when you do SEM. So I think it's valuable. It has its place. And I think when you get very specific about, what you're offering, or maybe you're running ads on a certain kind of product or service or offering or whatever, I think SEM plays better there than just, hey, the general, I'm a coder, come get your codings here.
Yeah.
So I would say a 3.
I like, that's a good one. So I think in terms of allowing you to position your company as a specialist with a very niche market or application that you really want to go after, I think SEM can be a 4, with the understanding that you have to have a sizable budget. So what I mean by that is, if you're going to budget, let's say you're going to do 10 phrases and budget $300 a month for each phrase, you're going to be off the Google rankings potentially on day 4 of the month. You know what I mean? So you have to have enough budget to allow your ad to stay relevant throughout the month. And so that's kind of where we ran into problems. We used to use Do AdWords for Chemours. We would place ads, and the budget wasn't awful, but it wasn't great. And we really didn't see ROI on it. After, I mean, how long did we do it, Francesca? We did it for quite a while.
Yeah.
Over a year and a half.
I was going to say it's at least a year.
And ultimately what it came down to is when we looked at it, we looked at what the clicks were, and we looked at conversions of those people that were clicking, how many of them were actually new visitors that ended up being new business. And it was very low. What ended up mostly happening was our same existing base customers would click on our ad just to get to our website instead of, direct typing it in. And so, you'd really have to watch that stuff, that you don't just throw money away. So
Mhm.
budget is a big part of it. If your budget's too small, that's not going to do any good. Don't waste your time. If the budget is just bringing in people that are going to come to your site anyway, that defeats the purpose. But if you really can use it to pinpoint and to target new visitors and a new segment to your company, then I can see how you can get an immediate positioning in the first page with the right sort of target market. So I think it can be a 4, but it can also be like a 2 if it's used the wrong way.
Which is, happily sitting at a 3. Like it could go either. And you know what,
a common
Mike?
theme where Francesca has to be right.
What? We're only 2 in. Let's wait for a pattern to develop where I am always right. No,
that's a good point, Mike. I give it a 5.
I think it also, I love what you said, Mike, about like, if you know how to target those new users and get them to click, then it can be worth it. I also think it can be, if you have a very specific kind of job where you only need one conversion to make your ad spend worth it, then that might be a great opportunity to do it. So it comes with a lot of different if this then SEM kind of language.
Yep.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Okay, so a 3, probably a 4. So I mean, not quite fire, not quite ice, kind of the lukewarm water in between here. All right, let's go to a common one, Mike. Tell me where you would rank social media. Is social media a smash or is it trash?
This is a really an interesting one for me, social media, because it's like such a hot button for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
But in my mind, I'm gonna give it like a 2.
Ooh, nice.
I just don't see conversions coming from social. And when I'm specific, I'm talking about LinkedIn. A lot of people do Facebook groups or Facebook, pages, and then probably Twitter. I see, some Twitter out there.
Sure.
I don't really see any coders on Instagram. I don't.
It doesn't seem like a.
I don't think they're on Snap or TikTok. So if we're talking about LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook, I mean that's mostly where I see people.
Yeah.
But I just am not seeing content that's doing anything but just kind of like their friends saying, "Hey, great job." Like, I just don't see it generating new business. And even if I think about our LinkedIn, which is mostly where we operate, that and Twitter, engagement to me is the big thing. So if you're going to be on social media and you want to make it a success, you have to allocate time to go on there, engage with other people, comment, like, share, all that kind of stuff. And then hopefully they'll do the same with yours. My impression of the coding community is that people will like stuff. Very few people will comment and share. And I think it's part of the
I would like to issue a challenge to everybody watching this to comment, like, and share this.
That would be really, I would love to see that. Yeah. But I think, we talked last time about coders a lot of times are very private. And I think that's just kind of the nature of the industry. Sure. And I think that is reflective in the social media behaviors. And so I think it can get very discouraging if you're like, say you're putting a schedule together, like, we put a schedule together where here's what we're posting every day of the month, blah, blah, blah. We have a whole thing planned, pre-planned, executed, etc. If you're going to base the success of your social on how many people like and comment, you're going to be done doing social in 90 days because you're going to get discouraged. Yeah. But you have to know this, like the long-term, like, positive vibe that you're sending out, that you're hoping people feel and hoping people see your personality. But yet if you're waiting for people to comment and like on it, you're gonna like hate yourself and think you're doing an awful job. So because of that, I think it's really hard to put value on social. I think it's something you probably have to have. I think it's something that's like almost like a credibility builder type thing. But would I hire a person to only do social media full and pay them $40,000 a year or something like that? Hell no. I just don't think it's worth it. Is it worth 10,000, 15, 20? Yeah, maybe, but not a full-time person. To me, it's a part of somebody's job.
So we're leaning there towards the 2, Mike, on this 2 for Tuesday. Gives it a trash. Over to you, Francesca. Social media, where do you rank it?
I had it solidly at a 5. I'm knocking it down to a 4.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So the reason I'm knocking it down is because you're absolutely right, Mike. Like the money that you spend on a full-time social media person as a coder, and this is specific to the coding industry. Anybody else, almost, I'm saying 5 out of 5, you got to have it. But for coders, you're right. You won't make that salary back on social media. And you absolutely have to have it. Of course you have to have social. It's like having a website. It's got to be out there as a reference for people. When they look you up, when they're thinking of you for the first time, there are 2 places they're going to go. It's going to be Google and it's going to be social to see what you do and who you are. And so those things have to speak the same language. They have to be aligned. And because there aren't coders really using social the way most other industries use social, as in putting a lot out there, doing all the liking and engaging and commenting and sharing and following and hashtagging and all of that stuff, because there's nobody deeply rooted in the knowledge of those algorithms and how to leverage them, you've got opportunity to be that guy. You could be the coder who puts themselves out there on social, who leads the way, who becomes a thought leader. And you're right, you might not see it in the likes and comments and shares, but what you can't measure is that kind of brand omnipresence, that thought leadership, that kind of I can trust them, that credibility builder that social is. So I'm very strongly in the camp of pro social for coders. And if nobody else is doing it, honey, get in there and go for it, because that's called opportunity. So it's not a crowded space.
All right. That's a compelling argument, and I'll raise up to a 3 on mine. I'll go middle of the road. But you're right. You're exactly right. Those are good points, and I think the audience can feel your passion about social media on here.
Yeah, I was going to say, Mike, of course, Mike took that down a peg because we both got yelled at and we didn't do anything. A little bit of teacher coming out there.
I feel really, I get why social is so often ignored with coders, because you don't necessarily see that dollar for dollar return. I get that. That's what we're here for. But this is the part about marketing that's really hard, is there are certain things you can't measure in dollars, but that are still necessary for your brand, for your business.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, I think when I think about just these episodes, the show and stuff, there's stuff that we put on our LinkedIn that, you know, it won't have comments and stuff, but I'm on the phone with people and they'll reference things that we've posted or clips that we've posted, and especially like March Madness and some of the other things that were a little lighter and funnier. Like they resonate with people. So I've had people tell me over the phone, like, yeah, I got a kick out of that. That was awesome. I learned some stuff here or there, but like, there's no posts on there, no comments. There's no, you know, so, you know, it's nice to get some positive reinforcement, but it's few and far between.
Well, it's really nebulous.
Yeah, it's interesting because I do think, I don't know, I love the comments on social and posts and stuff, but it's almost like a more nuanced, like when someone says it to you over the phone or something, it's almost like it means a lot more, you know? Interesting.
Well, especially like on LinkedIn, you can have those auto comments that are like, you don't even have to type shit and it pops up, you know? And like, those are the ones that when somebody puts that, I'm almost like, that's actually not even positive. That's like, somebody threw me a piece of toast.
Oh my! You think I could pull this off when trade shows return? I could go and be the coder social media influencer, almost like a Sacha Baron Cohen character. I just walk in, dressed outrageous. I'm the influencer of the social media coding world.
I will absolutely put that a 5 out of 5. Yes.
Necessary. Excellent. Thank you, Francesca. So, Francesca, let's go to you. And you, as one of my favorite characters in TV would say, you know a couple of treat things about e-marketing. When it comes to e-marketing, smash or trash, 1 or a 5?
E-marketing to me is a 5 out of 5. It's necessary. It's another one that is, I mean, it's not free, but it's almost free. And you do need to e-market people with the right messages, the right people, the right timing, the right frequency, because there's an art there in how you're talking to people and how you're reaching out to them. And you don't always want to come at them with offers and sales and asks. You want to give as well as ask. You want to mix it up with long and short. You want to mix it up with graphic and text. And I think that almost that flexibility of e-marketing, that you can segment your customers and just market to the people that have used you for this job. And so you want more of that job. So you can write an offer to them about this job to refer people to them. I mean, there's so much you can do. It's limitless in terms of how you can create the content and what you can say to them and what you can ask and give. The hard part about e-marketing is, of course, all the filters. Everybody's e-marketing. This is a crowded space. So inboxes are full, messages are getting ignored, read, or put in spam, trash, deleted, lightly glazed over at best. So it can be hard, and you do need to make sure that the amount that you are doing it is the right amount, because it's a very fine line between not enough and too much. But e-marketing is a great way to get in front of people and to talk to them. And a lot of times your e-marketing customers that you've already had, so you can use it for reactivation. You can reach out to people and try to, because we all know that it's a lot cheaper to reactivate old customers than it is to bring in new customers. So e-marketing is a tool to do that. You can bring in new customers with e-marketing by buying lists or acquiring lists somehow, having an opt-in landing page kind of email capture, gated content. All of that stuff works. I think that it's just about what you say, how you say it, how often you say it, and who you say it to. But isn't that all of marketing? I just don't see you really doing well without e-marketing. You're leaving money on the table from existing customers at the very least.
Yeah. I'd give e-marketing a 4 from the standpoint of, I think there's two things that are really critical is having that list, and having a list that's accurate, and having a list that's still relevant, because that's something even for us. So, we have a finite group of coders that we work with, but the names change. People retire, people come and go, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're constantly trying to make sure we've got the correct contacts within an organization. So that's got to be part of, if you're going to do e-marketing, there has to be a mechanism to make sure that happens. And then the other part is the content. I don't want to underscore the significance of having someone on your team, whether it's an employee or it's someone that knows how to write coding content. And that's not something a lot of people can do. To be able to speak the language of the coding industry and write in that fashion is not something a lot of content writers can do. So I want to make sure we don't underscore the significance of that, because if you have content that's not really relevant or hitting home with your audience, then that's a poor newsletter, and people could get desensitized to it when it comes and hits their inbox. So I think to have the content power and consistency of putting out a newsletter on a consistent basis, that's my third one element of this is consistency. When we started, the Intech Insider started literally at my second year of doing Intech. I was like, yeah, we should have a newsletter. And my dad and Kaz were like, yeah, whatever, you do it. And so
you have a ditto machine that you were doing?
we would send them out to get printed at
wow,
a local place in here in Newark. And it was like get a box. I had to fold them and send it. It was a pain in the ass. And, but it was something that, I thought we should do, and we did. And, we've been doing it for years. But the whole notion of it behind it was, I'm fine with doing a newsletter as long as it happens all the time, and whatever basis that's going to be, monthly, if that's too much to do it monthly, quarterly, whatever, set twice a year, whatever you want to do it, commit to it and think ahead, create your content map on what you're going to have and what you're going to bring to the table, and do it. It doesn't do any good to have a newsletter and then send it once and then never do it again, or to send it, or to say, I'm going to do it every week. And then your audience is like, this sucks. This is nothing in here that I want to read. And they're not going to read it anyway. Or then you skip 3 weeks and then you do another one, then skip 2 weeks. And so that kind of stuff, you have to it's almost like conditioning the audience of here it comes, and there's going to be something, you're going to get something out of this that's valuable to you. And that's kind of our goal with what we're trying to do. And I would urge others to do the same. But I think it's key. Francesca had a lot of great points of it. It's a key thing to have. Again, assuming you've got a couple foundational things squared away, like your audience and content and consistency.
Right. Right. So that rounds out our big five.
Yeah. You know what it
Good
is? Like, you know,
job.
those big five, that's kind of like the new school big five. I was thinking about
Yeah.
this on my way into school, into school, in the, in the
You
work
barely
today.
made it by first period, Mike. I was
Yeah.
worried, man.
Yeah. But I was thinking about the way, and like when I started doing this, those five we just talked about weren't there. Like there
Wow.
was,
You're
we
right.
didn't have
Yeah.
a website. I didn't have email. We didn't have an Intech domain. You know, I think we did.
Yeah.
We must have had email. Even my dad and Cass would have had email. But we didn't have a website. I know that.
Yeah.
And we didn't do any, you know, the e-marketing was just a print thing we started later on, but there was no social. There was no, you know, what was the other ones we went over?
SEO and SEM,
SEM.
obviously
And
not.
so it's really kind of interesting. Like these
Yeah.
are the ones. This is the new school. This is the present day marketing tools for in the coding world for everybody. I mean, but in the coding world in particular.
Could I trouble you guys for something? I don't know if you know. I have in my hand the lightning round. Can we do a lightning round of
This
some of
is
the things,
Old
some
school.
some of the things that we didn't talk about, Mike?
Yeah.
All right, let's go. Let's go, Mike. Tell me about print ads.
So print ads is another one that I think, yeah, this is going to rank really, really low for me. I'm going to give this like a 1. This is like having an ad in an industry magazine or Yellow Pages. Is there a Yellow Pages? It's got to be something like that, as I'm guessing. And I just don't know many people are doing it. An industry periodical, I could understand how that could potentially establish you and establish your brand in a market, aerospace engineering magazine,
Exactly.
some food processing magazine, or Tortilla World or something like that. Like
That's
I can
a good
see
one.
how that one could be. That's why I gave it a. Would I give it a 2?
You gave it a 1.
You gave it a 1, man.
I'll give it a 1.5. Because you can reach a specific audience, but you know, it's not cheap. I mean, to put a print ad in, even though nobody really looks at those magazines anymore, it's still pretty expensive. So I think dollar for dollar, to me, I think it's a dog unless you can get an ad in a real hyper specific periodical.
All right, over to you, Francesca. Mike's giving it a 1.5. Tell me about print ads.
I don't know if I have anything more to add to what he said because it's exactly right. I would say I put it at a 2, maybe, because this industry specific budget, those two things alone are what is going to determine the success of your print ad. And when we're talking periodicals. So yeah, it's, you got to have something even more specific in mind than when you do SEM. So it's a 2.
Yeah, 2. All right. Okay. We'll keep going in the lightning round here. Francesca, I'm giving you local advertising, smash or trash.
Ooh, local advertising as in I'm sponsoring a Little League and getting my company's name on the back of the shirts, or I'm doing a local anything else, I guess, is that kind of what we're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would give that 3.5.
Wow.
Really? I know it's higher than
What the heck?
Here's why. If it's a really strong way to show that you are involved in your community. So I'll say this with a caveat for the 3.5. That is, if your business comes from your area. So if you're in the oil and gas industry and you happen to be around a lot of oil and gas people that are in that area, and you can get that out subtly, you're showing that it's not even about announcing yourself, but it's showing that you are invested in the community. I think there's more to that feel good than people realize, but you can't do it once and then expect it to come back to you in ROI. You need to keep doing it. You need to invest in your community consistently, and you need to show that it's important that you're reaching the right people through that local advertising. If you can't reach those right people, if most of your business is from across the country, forget it. It's a 1.
Yeah.
Oof. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, so I think local ads, I think in terms of establishing yourself in a community, supporting the community, a feel-good thing is a 5. You know, I mean, I've always sponsored different teams and different school events and stuff like that. I mean, I've yet to get any business as a result of it, but I didn't do it to get business. You know what I mean?
There you
Right.
go. There you go.
So, from that standpoint, it's fine. If you're doing it to get business, I think the only business you're going to get is like if somebody wants a frying pan recoded. That's what everybody tell me. And then most coating shops have a minimum order, and I don't know what that minimum order is for everybody, but let's just say it's on the low side, it's going to be $350. So somebody's going to come and make, I love this frying pan. Can you recode it? And like, yeah, for $350. So go buy a new set for $150. There's the goal is kind of nebulous there and like why to do it other than to support the community. And I think there's one other thing, Francesca, and we've kind of seen this from our standpoint. It does help you with attracting employees and keeping.
Yes,
I
good
think there's
call.
an intrinsic value of being like, people are like, you know what, I saw you guys did a community service thing, you did a fundraiser, and that people like being a part of stuff like that. I mean, we've done it here, and it's been a huge success for us in terms of like bringing our team together, and also when during the interview process, people have referenced that, like, hey, I saw this on your website, and that's really cool. You guys do that. So I think that's the other kind of like, that's a 5 out of 5. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a big win.
Tough one. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That's a good one. I don't know if you're like me. I'll be walking around on a beautiful spring day in Wilmington. I'll see a T-ball game, and the back of that T-ball jersey is something like Ted's bail bonds. And I'm like,
yeah,
well, Ted must know his audience. And then you give the parents in the crowd a second look, Yeah. It's always one of those things.
Yeah.
All right. I got one last one here in the lightning round, Mike. Let's start with you. Something that we're starting to hear tell, as they used to say, are coming back. What about trade shows and public events of that nature?
Yeah, trade shows is one that I think is, again, we've done trade shows at Intech for, we used to do them for DuPont at the design engineering show. I was at powder shows. We were at our own, NACE and other shows. If I was to look at, the amount of new business that came into those shows relative to the cost of the booth space, plus the booth, plus the travel, plus the bar tabs, it's hard to make a compelling argument that the dollars are there. But I would also counter that by saying, if you want to be a player in an industry, you have to be present in the industry. So, for us, for oil and gas, to me, that's an investment in the industry, an investment to support our endeavors and to let our clients and our prospects know that we're here, that we're going to be here. So it's almost like a fixed cost to be a part of that industry. So, I think it's hard to put a number on this one, because it's, if you're doing it as a general fishing trip to go to a show and just have a booth, it's a one.
Yep.
If you're doing it because you have a strong position in the industry and you want to continue to retain or expand your position, then it's a 5.
I think you're right. I think it's about what trade shows are you going to, and what is your goal when you're going to them? Is it to introduce yourself to an industry? Is it to get new clients? Is it to network? I think that's the thing that for me makes trade shows probably like a 3, because it's not about, you could get your money back if you get one job that's the right job at the right trade show with the right people. That's a lot of things going right for you.
A lot of asterisks behind that.
Yeah. Right. But if you spent, like $10,000 or $15,000 to be at that trade show, and you didn't necessarily get a job back from that, but you got to network with people that down the road is going to bring in repeat revenue. It's going to be referral business. It's going to be a long-term gain. Then you're going to make your money back. So it's kind of like going to the casino and being like, I'm going to spend this $100 and that's it. And then I'm going to stop playing, and you're up or down, and that's the last time that you're going to be at a casino, then it's a 1. But if you're like, I'm keeping a running tally every time I'm at the casino, if I'm up or if I'm down, then it gets to be much more valuable that way, because it could come out in your favor, but it's a long game. It's not necessarily for the actual show you're in.
Yep. That's a good point.
So it's a good walkthrough. Well, we covered these marketing tools, the most common that we encounter, the new class, the old school as well, and you did a great job walking us through that. But let me ask you this, because I feel like I learned something every time about this industry, and when I have this back and forth with you guys and all the guests we have here. I'd say I'm a coder now. I've been intrigued by what you have to say, and I want to utilize some of these tools. What could you tell me the next steps? What's the next step that I would take here?
I think the next step is you've got to have two things in place. You have to have a marketing strategy and you have to have a marketing budget, because you heard us say over and over again that, yes, if. Well, there's a lot of it. Those ifs are how much money you're going to put into it. Are you going to put all of your money into SEM? Are you going to put all of your money into trade shows? Are you going to put all of your money into your website? Are you going to put, where is it going? And the things that don't cost a lot of money, that SEO, the e-marketing, the social, what are you going to do with that? How far are you going to go? And so the strategy answers a lot of those questions, and the budget answers a lot of those questions. And if you put those together, along with our part one about being a specialist, not a generalist, knowing who your audience is and knowing what your point of differentiation is, then you're able to actually market effectively. And if that cohesiveness is there, then you're going to see everything operating at a 5 out of 5, because you understand the whole picture. And that's what marketing is about, is like making a part of it a part of all of your business and not just its own business. Like, it's got to be aligned with your sales. It's got to be aligned with your vision and your core values and your business goals and your revenue and all of that stuff. So do a strategy and set a budget. Those are your next steps whenever you're talking about what your marketing is. And your strategy, be realistic. Setting it for 12 months, or God forbid, paying a marketing agency some exorbitant amount of money to set a strategy for 12 months is just not going to benefit you, because things change. And a lot of marketing is trial and error. You think you're going to go hard in social, and then you find out you don't have the endurance for that. You need a quicker payoff. So now your strategy is, maybe instead of social heavy, you did that for 6 months. Now you're going to go e-marketing heavy for 6 months, whatever it is. But you've got to be able to adapt and adjust based on what is working and what is not. And so your strategy has to be, I would recommend quarterly. I think that's going to be a reasonable goal. That's what we like to do.
Yeah, I like those. Those are good things. I mean, I really like the short-term strategy part, because that's something we used to do, a 12-month strategy, and we found
we did.
we were always scrapping it after 6 months. So,
Wow.
we kind of sketch out 6 months, and then after a quarter, we have almost like a 4-month rolling update based on what's happening, based on what's hitting, based on, especially now, the market dynamics and where things are economically. So you have to have that flexibility. And Francesca, you touched on hiring a market agency and spending money, or is either that, or if you're going to hire someone internally to do these tasks. I would absolutely urge you to make sure you find somebody that understands your business and understands your audience and understands the value you're bringing to your audience, because it's the biggest misstep I think we see on our end. Is there's a lot of marketing companies out there. There are a million marketing companies out there. They generally don't understand codings, and they don't understand the coding world. And so, we mentioned earlier about being able to talk and speaking the language of the industry, especially if you want to be a specialist. That's a kind of an odd sentence. But it's really true. And so, if you get wowed by how pretty the proposal looks from the marketing agency, because they're really adept at, every marketing agent, they can't put together a good looking proposal, then run away from, don't walk, run. and so, but there needs to be a heck of a lot more substance behind that. And that's the thing I would really urge people to dig in on what experience they have in your world. Because just because they did great for a florist shop or for a tile market doesn't mean they're going to do great for you. So that to me is the biggest thing I would add to Francesca's comments about what's next is, obviously create that strategy and develop a budget, but then whoever's going to execute it, make sure they know what the hell they're doing in your world.
You had to feel like you were ready to go when you said you drove into school today. You drove into school ready to go today, Mike. And I know that I can see the bell's about to ring, which was drawing us to the end of the school day. But before hey, look, that bell doesn't dismiss you too. I do. The one thing I wanted to cover again, I wanted to throw this one more big grateful virtual hug to all our listeners. Thank you so much. And if those listeners out there are interested, Francesca, how can they get in touch with you? Can you tell us what the social channels you're looking at and interacting with?
You can find us on LinkedIn. Please do. Please engage. We love that. You can find us on Twitter under InTech Services, and you can always email us, of course. My email is, everybody's email is just their first, I think it's their first name and at InTech Services. So Francesca@intechservices.com.
Or call.
We
answer. 2 rings we pick up.
Yeah, buddy.
That phone. Yeah. Test it.
No, but we definitely, if you have questions or you want some additional clarifications or talk about your particular situation, give us a call. I mean, we'd love to talk to you about it. We've been in this realm for quite a while, and we certainly like to help you market better, because ultimately that helps us all and helps the industry grow. And so it's in all of our interest to do a good job at this part of our business.
Well, there we have it, guys. Look, Francesca, Mike, thank you once again for being here.
Thanks,
and for being
Nick.
So informative. And thank you to all our listeners. We really, really appreciate it. Join us for Deliver More next month. We'll see you once again right here from Delaware, Delaware. Bye-bye now.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.